let's go to Ethiopia now, where police have announced that they shot dead the man suspected of leading a failed coup attempt in the northern region of Amhara. General Assassinations was killed on the outskirts of Bahir Dar, the regional capital. Over the weekend, the Amhara region's governor was killed and the army chief of staff was shot in Addis Ababa. The government announced that the Ethiopian army chief, Sarah McKinnon, is to be buried in Mekelle town later today. Well, let's get the latest and speak to Zacharias Lalem, a reporter for the Addis Standard based in Montreal. And Zacharias, give us more details then about the shooting of the man suspected of that attempted coup, General Assassinations. Who else was killed, and have there been more arrests made in the Amhara region?
Okay, so Brigadier General Assassinations, as it has been widely reported, is a former Air Force member of the Ethiopian Air Force who spent 9 years in prison prior to his release in 2018 and his promotion to the post of Amhara Regional Security Apparatus. What we know as far is that there was a fallout of sorts between him and the federal government. What has surprised most, of course, is that it deteriorated into the shooting and the deaths that we saw over the past 2 or 3 days. Thus far, we're hearing reports that some of his close associates have been placed under arrest, as well as other members of the security apparatus across the country have been detained for questioning. But there hasn't been any clear-cut placing of charges against anyone related to either affiliation with the alleged coup plotters or for any role allegedly played in the killings of General McConnell and his associate.
Zacharias, you mentioned that there's been a fallout between Brigadier General Assassinations and the federal government, headed, of course, by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Are there any details emerging on what exactly happened over the weekend? And was it actually an attempted coup, or, as you say, a fallout between the regional leaders and the federal government?
Right now, the prevailing narrative amongst Ethiopians, amongst people I've discussed with, is that there are discrepancies between the state's official narrative of there having been a regional government coup and the reality on the ground. Well, for one thing, if you recall a year ago when the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was the target of a grenade attack, an assassination attempt, in that incident, it took months before the government came out with an official version of events. After Saturday's killings, it was within a day that the government came out and ascertained that it was the deaths were a result of a coup, without presenting any evidence whatsoever. And the reality suggests that there was more to this, and that the government is maybe concealing some parts of the story, perhaps to maintain a certain narrative. Thus far, it is unclear, and it would be mere speculation for me to tell you exactly what happened from at this point. But facts point to something else having occurred.
Now, what then happens? Where does that leave the relationship between the federal government, between the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, having had the region's governor, who was a close ally to him, killed, between him and the Amhara region right now? How much control does he have, and where does all of this leave the relationship?
Well, in terms of control, the federal government appears to be firmly in control of the regional capital of Bahir Dar and its surroundings, from what I've been able to determine. But of course, the loss of a key ally in Dr. McConnell, who was the regional president, and the loss of someone who had gained wide acceptance amongst the Amhara constituency is a blow to his leadership, and finding someone who would maintain the people's confidence in the government and carry on the work of Dr. Amhara is going to be an extremely difficult task, and they'll have to play it slowly, I suspect, over the course of the next few weeks or few months. That's right now the task on hand, and it will be interesting to see how that will be carried out.
Indeed. Zacharias Lalem, a reporter for the Addis Standard. Many thanks for joining us.
This is Newsday from the BBC. On the way, the sport.